Hi guys, welcome to the video. This is part of this graphite series, and I was going to put all these, you can see the printables here, I was going to put all these on Substack, but this was a really long one, so I wanted to pop that on YouTube today. So you can see kind of the sphere where we started, and I've got a smaller video on Substack of that, and then I gave a couple of different shadow options there on the printable. And then this is the sugar bowl printable. You can see that I've done it so that you can use it like this if you want to paint it, but I've also done a cut line there where you can cut the just this portion for the flap out, and just do kind of the one that we did in the video where like all these different kind of objects are kind of flapping over the sphere to create different things. So the first thing I wanted to do is show you how this works as a time lapse, so you can kind of see the kind of this all come together in quite a quick way. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go step by step through this process. So you will have already sketched this out, and then I'm using a HB here. So when I am building these up, I'm using these Graphite Aquarelle, the little set. I'll link it below. It's from Faber-Castell, and I like using these because they don't smudge very much. And also, you know, you can use them for watercolor. So, but you can just use the one pencil if you just have like a 2B or something like that. But it's very good for practicing the pressure. And I said this in the last video on Substack, but two things that are excellent using these graphite studies. One is the how to see light, how to see the highlights and preserve them, and then how to build into those shadows and kind of understand that the deepest shadows don't necessarily, they may not take up as much of the painting as you think. Yeah, so anyway, and then the other thing is just practicing pressure. So the pressure that we use for our brush strokes is so important, and we can get such a wide variety of different kind of paint strokes, and different kind of energy and different things that we can put on the painting if we understand how to change the pressure of our brush strokes. So this is really a good exercise for that as well. Yeah, so anyway, you can see that I have started with the HB, and I am very lightly going around and kind of starting to build up these sides. I'm also thinking about I'm thinking about kind of where to leave highlights, but because I don't have an exact reference for this, like I have just kind of made this up. I've looked at pictures of like silver bowls and things, but it would be a good idea for you to also look up maybe ornate sugar bowls, or if you have a silver bowl, to kind of see where those highlights and shadows form. So like I said, I'm just kind of imagining where they would be, and then kind of leaving those alone for now and just working around them very lightly. Then you can see in the actual sugar here, I am kind of scumbling the brush more. So I am being a little bit more erratic with my marks. I'm not trying to be lay down as smooth of not a wash, but you know, as a layer. So then I'm also going into this kind of silver ornate emblem thing at the front, and I am just putting a little bit of colour down. I'm more kind of making a ground at this point, and then I start to go in and kind of build up this area here where the flap meets the sphere. So I want, I'm going to have to kind of match that like intensity of that colour, or the shade. So I have to work on that, and then we kind of can transition into the highlight. And you can see that we don't have like a lot of room here to do that, and that's why it's quite good to do exercises like this and kind of think like I don't necessarily need a harsh line, and I can still do a gradual transition even if it's just in this kind of small area. And again, like this is so good for helping those, like the skills of kind of just varying the brush strokes and kind of getting that the subtle kind of nuances. So I've been watching a lot this week. I've put them on my playlist, but they're like paintings from Monet, paintings from Van Gogh, and they all learned how to, you know, render form before they found their style and found kind of what they want to do. And I just watched one from Van Gogh, and he was so it said when he went to Paris, he was learning from like being influenced by the pointillists, and so Seurat, and he was thinking about painting in a different way. His paintings become lighter and softer and brighter. So, and they're really beautiful how that transition kind of happened. So doing exercises like this starts to help you kind of think about, actually, what are my options here? Like what are the options for form, for shadow? So you can see that I have enlarged this area, and I'm just showing you here that you're kind of going from a larger portion to kind of this point. So you're going kind of enlarging it and then going back in towards the actual flourish. So hopefully that's a little bit more helpful and a bit more clear. When you're doing it small, you can't necessarily do it exactly, so you're just trying to kind of get something like this. and then you can start building up the shadow around it. The other thing I wanted to say, so when I'm building up these kind of shadow areas, my pencil is almost flat to, well, it is flat to the page. So I show this in kind of better in the little video on Substack, because I can't really maneuver this large book underneath the camera. So, but you can see it on the Substack video, and my pencil is flat to the page so that I can get kind of a little bit more of a nice area with the side of the pencil there. And then for a lot of the time my pencil is flat to the page, and then once I finished a layer, I don't really show it as much on here, but I will just use either my finger or a blending stump and just blend that, and then start to kind of build up a little bit of an extra deeper layer. So I'm going to switch to the 4B here, and so we've gone from the HB to the 2B, and I like to, when I want to start to get a little bit of depth in, a little bit more of a deeper kind of, going straight in for those kind of darker shadows or the darkest ones, I pretty much use the 4B. I don't really go to the 6B or the 8B. The 8B I'll use in the shadow, but really once you put that 8B down, it's very, very black, and it almost can go flat. So I kind of prefer, it looks a little bit flat, like it doesn't really look like it has as much movement in it. So I kind of like to stick with the 4B as dark as I can get it. And again, you can see that in this sugar area, I'm scumbling this on. So my brush is at about a 45-degree angle to the paper. I'm just holding it up a little bit. I'm not like pointing it right down. I'm just kind of holding it up so it's still kind of on the side a little bit. And again, just kind of moving around here. I want this to look like little granules sitting here. I don't want it to look like this kind of flat mass. And then I felt like there was a bit too much there, so don't be afraid to use your eraser. That's part of what helps you get some of these highlights back. Again, like when we're painting, we can use lifting as like an eraser, but so you can see here, like I'm just going back in and just deepening up some of this shadow area. This is also something that should take you a little while to produce, so don't expect to kind of do it in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe even in one sitting. If you have 10 or 20 minutes a day, it might take you a week or 2 weeks. So so don't be too hard on yourself, and just I hear a lot from pencil artists, especially realistic pencil artists, that they take frequent breaks and they move around the drawing a lot so that you kind of aren't stuck in one place. If it's it can get a bit tedious, but so you can see here that I'm just now putting in with this 4B, because the back of the sugar bowl is going to be my kind of deepest shadow in this area. I am just going straight in with a pretty dark a lay of the color of the value there at the back. So and then you can see that I kind of outline around the sugar first and give myself like a little perimeter there of where I want to kind of draw. And I'm just going in with actually quite a deep pressure here so that I can get kind of that color depth down pretty quickly. So you can see that I have gone back to the 2B here, and I am starting to put in, starting from the left side here, we're going to kind of render the oval in the middle, adding some kind of deeper shadows around the left and then some softer ones on the right, kind of leaving that little oval highlight in the middle. And then kind of starting around the outside, I leave a little bit of a ring around the center oval just to kind of define that, give that a little bit of space there. And then I kind of start to go around these little kind of rivets or kind of things in the in this kind of emblem part, and just add a little bit more like of a darker value around those. So one of the things I should also mention is that you can see like pretty quickly we've gone up to the 4B, and you can see that I'm not putting the pencil right at the side. I'm putting it more in the middle of what we've done. Unless like here, like at that side there, I want a really sharp dark edge, so I'll put it kind of right at the edge there. And then I start to build up this side on the right, because this side needs to be a little bit darker than the other side. So, yep. What I was going to say was, when you're doing these pencil sketches, you're moving kind of from lightest to darkest, but that's also true like often for the edges. So the edge still might be a little bit softer, like it might be a little bit more of the HB, and then as you move forward into the drawing, Huckleberry, no, listen, no, not right now. As you move forward into the drawing, you sort of increase the value. So that's how you get like this kind of nice gradient. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see kind of on the left of that middle part, it's still like the HB, then it moves into the 2B, and then we have like the stronger 4B. And then in these kind of flourishes around the side here, you can see that I'm kind of going in and just outlining those with this 4B and kind of giving quite a strong contour to those. Like normally I don't necessarily outline things like that, but for this I think it just kind of helps to bring those to life, as long as you've got the like the shading on the bottom. You can see here I'm going in with a 2B, so we did the right side again, it would be a bit darker on with the 4B, and now I'm going back down in pencil value to the 2B and just doing this side a little bit softer. So again, we get those kind of soft intonations. We want kind of this delicacy and kind of the fact that we've kind of thought about this, like we want kind of the I don't really know how to explain it, but when I'm looking at a lot of these paintings, they're really taking their time to think about these gradual transitions between colour, between light, how the form would be depicted, you know, in the changing light, and how to convey those things to people. So like Monet would said he doesn't want to just paint the haystack, he wants to paint the light around it and kind of how it sits in the space. And what the other thing that's interesting is they were often painting just from what they could see out their window. So very much like what we can do today with, you know, depending if we have a local park or somewhere we like to go or something we like to see and paint often. Yeah, so you can see here that with the around the spoon here, I'm like increasing the depth of this kind of shadow here. So I think I would have gone back to the 4B here and really wanting that spoon to kind of stand out there. And then again, I'm just going in and starting to outline these kind of little details here. So again, they don't have to be perfect. You can see how I'm not really focusing on exact perfection here, but what I'm wanting is to get this kind of interest and detail. So I'm going back into the oval and kind of deepening up the left side there, and just going in and kind of deepening up some of these areas, and then we kind of go back in as we did with the flourishes kind of around the front of the sugar bowl. We're kind of doing that up throughout all these details in the spoon as well. So you can see here that again I'm not being exactly precise, but I want this kind of idea that those things are there. And I think that's part of the beauty of, you can see here we're doing that same kind of thing where we talked about putting the shadows in, where we're kind of going out and then in, but you can't really see it as much. So I enlarge this again, and you can kind of see here a little bit better the type of thing we're looking for. So even though in a small scale you may not be able to do it as precise, if this is how you're thinking, it actually comes out quite nicely. Like it's often like this. I know I keep kind of saying it, but this kind of delicacy of thought and the way that we're handling the pressure. So you can see here that kind of this is what we do in the center. We're leaving a highlight kind of off center to the left, and then starting with the lightest shading, and then we build that up sort of around, you can see they're leaving that, and then we kind of build the shadow here. So we're kind of bridging between this lightest one we've put down and the darkest one we've put down. We want to try and build a little gradient into that. Okay, so frustratingly I did this portion and it didn't film, so I had to just erase it, and I was just kind of showing you there. So if you have to erase it as well, it just is fine. It adds to the layers, and yeah. Bottom of this, so I'm just kind of showing you where we're going to leave this line of a highlight. We're kind of thinking about that the whole time. And just gradually building up again these soft transitions. This is just such a nice way to start to think about how to get that I'm not exactly sure what to call it, but it is like when you look at these Impressionist painters, or just really any sort of beautiful paintings, there is this kind of real it's almost an intensity of softness. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but it's like you see it and you can tell that they've worked really hard to bring you this really enjoyable experience. And so some of kind of these types of exercises are really good to help us to get to that. Like you can see here again, just in this little tiny area, I am trying to bridge between the deepest shadow and the lightest edge. So, and like this little flower at the top, I mean, it doesn't necessarily exactly look like a flower, but it kind of reads like a flower or some sort of floral carving there. So when we go down the length of the spoon here, we don't have much room, so we just want to create kind of a little gradual shadow there, something to kind of show the movement. And again, I'm just deepening up little parts here. This is kind of where I say with the painting the last 5% is when I put on kind of my deepest shadows. So we've done so much work in trying to get it to here, and we don't necessarily need to go in now with lots and lots of dark marks. We just kind of need to touch up these little areas and make these shadows a little bit deeper, and then we're basically done. So okay, so the last things that I want to do is just go around and check my values here and see if there's anything else that I can deepen up. Again, you can see here I'm not going in with dark shading. I am working with a 2B, and I'm just sort of putting in lightly these kind of areas where I think the silver might be creating some kind of shine. So, and then especially kind of under the top portion here, I really want to go in and make that a bit darker, a little bit at the side here, but I'm kind of leaving these areas of highlight where the silver could be like creating this, you know, this like really quite strong highlight. And yep, again on the other side. And again, like I've gone back to my pencil is on the side here. You can also see that I don't keep my pencils very sharp. That's just, yeah, I just don't. But yeah, so then we're finished, and yeah, it's quite a nice one. I hope you guys try it and let me know how it goes. And again, you can see here at the back, I'm just taking the eraser and kind of erasing out a little bit of where there could be like a highlight kind of in the back there as well. So don't be afraid to use an eraser and take out some of those highlights if you need to. The other thing I just wanted to mention again is to use, you know, do some of these exercises going from dark to light and really working on the pressure. I'm just showing you here as well. You can use a pencil to think about like calligraphy using these really light kind of whisper of a upstroke and then a downstroke that is quite firm and more pressure and creates a wider mark. This is really good to do with brush pens as well. So this is the one that I used for the printables. I started with Copic and then I switched to this one. This is actually a really nice, quite a dark black as well. But let's see. Yeah, so you can see one of the things that I think has really helped me, and I might do just a little bit more of a little video on this over on Substack, but is doing like brush lettering or doing calligraphy and using a dip pen, because you kind of, again, you're working on that the pressure, the delicacy of pressure and the way that will affect your painting. So I am just kind of quickly showing you here, like you can kind of work on that even with your brush and your paintbrush, and just working on getting thinner lines and thicker lines. Yeah, if you work on like a word, then it's actually quite helpful. You can see here that I'm struggling because I'm holding the phone. The paper's not kind of down, but yeah, you can see here like how it just kind of helps you to build these
I'm not really, I'm going to have to think of like kind of a way to explain this, but when you're kind of looking for those particular kind of marks and how that really sensitive, I don't know if that's a way to explain it, but you are kind of reacting sensitively to what you're seeing, how you want to convey that, kind of how that's going to sit on the page, and how that kind of works in the painting with your other brush strokes. I think you're always kind of responding to your prior brush strokes in a way. Like if you put kind of down something, it may not necessarily be what you have in mind, but you kind of, as you work through the painting, you kind of led along. I think that's sort of what people mean by when the painting kind of leads them along, is that you kind of start somewhere and then you kind of keep building on that. And then you kind of start to get to know, like, if I put this down, I need to do this, and kind of change things around like that. But yeah, so you can see here, like, this is what we've done over on Substack. And I have 2 more that I will try and get done on there as well today. So you've got the whole kind of range that you can look up. This one's going to be more of a time lapse, but I'm going to walk you through it and kind of tell you my tips. And yeah, I hope you've been doing really well. The next video in 2 or 3 weeks will be on kind of finishing up winter. We will paint snow. We will paint an emblem. I had hoped to get the snow painting up, while we actually had snow, but I unfortunately just haven't been able to. So hopefully that will be interesting anyway, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.